This content is meant solely for educational and entertainment purposes. What follows is a direct reading of sworn federal courtroom testimony in the ongoing trial of Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by Inner City Press.
Oh man, this case is crazy, man. I'm doing well, but I'm doing a hell of a lot better than Diddy. Let's get that out the way. Definitely a hell of a lot better than him. I meant to ask, are they confident they're gonna be able to get this man off? That's what I'm asking to win this case. Because you can have lawyers, hold on. You can have lawyers saying, I think they're doing good based on the hand they're dealt. They're doing an excellent job. I'm asking, are their chances improving or dissipating towards getting them off? Testimony resumed this morning from a former assistant using the pseudonym Mia. This is her second day of testimony where Mia said Combs physically and sexually assaulted her numerous times when she worked for him.
Stephen A. Smith has finally broken his silence regarding the shocking developments in Diddy's trial. On live TV, legal analyst Ryan Smith discussed with Stephen A. the explosive courtroom testimony from Mia, Diddy's former assistant. Ryan explained that Mia's allegations, particularly the claims of sexual assault, are central to the government's case, but it goes even further. Her statements support the racketeering charges, detailing how she was allegedly made to work extreme hours under constant threats. Mia says Diddy used intimidation tactics, including text messages laced with threats to maintain control over her.
Huge, not only from the perspective that she talks about how she was sexually assaulted by Diddy, which is a big part of the prosecution's case, but it's also part of their racketeering case. Part of what they're trying to prove is a forced labor element of his racketeering case. Essentially saying he had people like Mia working for days in a row under force of threats or coercion. What threats? There's threats that she has over text message of communications where he's saying, I'm gonna tell everything. Things like sexual assault that she experienced in her mind that might be told to Cassie and others that might hurt her.
According to Smith, Mia also testified about disturbing incidents of physical violence, including one where Diddy threw a computer and even spaghetti at her, amplifying the fear she lived with. Her account aligns with some of the abuse claims previously made by Cassie, building a broader narrative of Diddy allegedly operating a criminal enterprise. The prosecution claims this network not only carried out illegal activities, but also helped conceal them.
So what they're trying to put together through Mia's testimony is a couple of different things. First is that there was an element of forced labor going on under Diddy, where people felt like they had to do things that were extreme under force of like threat or violence. She talks about how he threw a computer at her, threw spaghetti at her. That concern led her to be in this forced labor situation. She's also there to corroborate elements of Cassie's story. Cassie talking about the assault she went through, and now Mia talking about what she experienced as part of the overall case of Diddy having this criminal enterprise, having all these people working for him, planning certain things, doing certain things to cover up the crimes they believe he was committing.
Ryan Smith elaborated that Mia's testimony doesn't stop at labor abuse. It veers into far darker territory, including accusations of kidnapping and arson. One of the most talked about moments involves Kid Cudi, who allegedly had his Porsche targeted in a failed bombing attempt tied to Diddy. Mia also described Diddy showing up with a weapon after discovering Cassie's connection to Cudi. She said he forced her into a car and later broke into Kid Cudi's residence, instructing someone to warn him against contacting law enforcement. Prosecutors are using this to paint Diddy as the orchestrator of a wider criminal conspiracy.
This woman talking about everything she went through working for him, working with him, that contributed to the elements of kidnapping and arson. Because you talk about Kid Cudi, that whole situation. We talked about this last week, Stephen A. The idea that Kid Cudi feels that he tried to bomb his Porsche. That's the arson part. So she's talking about all the different relationships that Cassie had with Kid Cudi, how Diddy found out, and the reactions he had. Coming to her house with a gun, forcing her to go one place. That's part of the force, coercion and all of this. And then doing these things like breaking into Kid Cudi's house. She talks about everything that happened there, and that he's then assigned to go and tell him not to talk to the police. All of this works into this criminal enterprise they're starting to talk about here. This idea that he owned or operated and associated this enterprise of doing crimes and had all these people doing things to help facilitate that. When we talked last week, we talked about, hey, where is all of this going? Now we're starting to see, Stephen A., where all this is going.
Smith stated that prosecutors aren't just building a case around abuse, they're laying out a blueprint of a man who allegedly led a group that enabled and covered up crimes through intimidation and manipulation. Mia claimed Diddy threatened to expose private details from her past if she didn't follow orders. According to Smith, this is textbook racketeering, a key element in the prosecution's pursuit of the maximum penalty.
It's not just about the accusations of sexual assault, the accusations of being a bad boss, the accusations of doing things, of threatening violence. It's the fact for prosecutors that he is doing all of these things to sort of facilitate criminal activity, and then on the other end, involving all these people to do these things for him, to either conceal it or to keep it going, and then doing it under force of threats or coercion, saying to people like Mia, hey, you do, or the insinuation is, hey, you don't do this for me, I'm gonna tell everything about what happened with you and me. You do telling somebody else, you don't come with me, I've got a gun, you gotta come with me even if you don't want to. This is the prosecution starting to lay out that most powerful case on racketeering. That's what they need to get the maximum time in jail.
Moreover, during a lunch recess, reporters noted Mia's demeanor on the stand. Quiet, emotional, and shaken after 2 hours of testimony. Prosecutors zeroed in on her working conditions with Combs. She recalled witnessing Diddy assault Cassie Ventura and trying to intervene alongside Deontay Nash, only to be violently shoved into a wall. She also recounted a disturbing moment at a party thrown for Prince, where Diddy allegedly attacked Cassie again until Prince's security had to step in. Mia even described her initial job interview at Diddy's New Jersey mansion, where he answered the door wearing nothing but underwear.
On a quick lunch break, Mia has been on the stand for about 2 hours now. She's very soft-spoken. She's looking down the entire time in the testimony. Her voice is cracking. The prosecutors are laying a lot of foundation with regard to how long she worked for Combs, how many hours she worked a day. She talks about one time when she saw Combs assaulting Ventura, that she and Deontay Nash jumped on his back, tried to stop it. She was thrown against the wall. She's talking about another time when they were at a party for Prince. When Combs found out she was there, they ran through the party, started hiding, that Combs started assaulting Ventura. And then Prince's security jumped in. She talked about her first interview for the job as personal assistant, that it was at his home in New Jersey, and then he showed up at the door with his underwear on.
Mia's earlier testimony turned even more harrowing as she detailed a late-night encounter that highlighted the toxic atmosphere inside Diddy's home. At around 3 a.m., while working under what she called forced conditions, she asked for a break due to a personal health issue. She was on her period and visibly bleeding. This triggered a rage-filled response from Diddy, who in front of witnesses verbally attacked her and threw a bowl of spaghetti in her direction. As she ran upstairs, he allegedly chased her, still yelling. Everyone else in the room stayed frozen, paralyzed by fear.
So we got to talk about what happened during the Diddy trial yesterday. There were several things that came out of it, but one of the things that I want to talk about particularly is this incident where Mia, who is one of Diddy's former assistants, that's the pseudonym she's using, talks about when he threw a bowl of spaghetti at her. The thing is, it's actually so much more than that. She was working really late for him one night around 3 a.m. She was living in his house at that time because he was forcing her to do that. And he says, hey, go get everybody, we have to go. So she stands up to turn to her room and she said, hey, I got to deal with something personal real quick. She was on her period and she had blood dripping down her leg and she needed to go change a tampon. And apparently when she told him that, he flew into a fit of rage. He then began a humiliating rant about her in front of everybody. He was already holding this bowl of spaghetti and decided to chuck it at her, missing her by only a couple feet. Then he began aggressively cursing at her and telling her to get the F out of his house. And then when she went to go up to her room, he started chasing her up to her bedroom.
What followed, Mia said, was just as degrading. Instead of confronting Diddy about his behavior, Bad Boy Entertainment's HR department suspended her without pay, blaming her for the incident. According to prosecutors, this wasn't an isolated case, but one of many acts of violence and retaliation that show a repeated pattern. Mia's account strengthens the prosecution's argument that Diddy maintained his empire through manipulation, fear, and strategic abuse.
But it doesn't even stop there. This happened in front of so many people who, of course, didn't do anything because they are so afraid of what this man might do. And then what happened after that was retaliation for her job. Basically, Bad Boys Entertainment HR came down and suspended her without pay because of this incident, because she had to go change a tampon. He didn't like that, chased her up the stairs. She's the one that got suspended without pay. This is just one of many deeply violent and dehumanizing acts that he committed against his employees and, of course, so many other people in his orbit. Now, I have more updates coming for this. We have a new testimony that's coming today. Hit that follow button.
Ryan Smith
Drop your thoughts in the
noted
comments.
that despite the defense doing what it can, the prosecution appears to be gaining steady momentum. So far, the witnesses have been sharp and detailed, helping prosecutors lay a careful foundation for a racketeering conviction. While RICO charges are notoriously tough to prove, the consistency in witness statements gives the government a strong upper hand, even without cameras in the courtroom.
The defense is doing what they can do, but what the speed of this case and the witness testimony I'm reading is showing me are prosecuting witnesses that are very well prepared and a prosecution team that is slowly and methodically, but efficiently building that case for RICO. It's not an easy thing to do. And from what I'm seeing so far, reading, because we're not able to see it on TV, what I'm reading so far, they seem to be doing a very good job.